Director, I see it is 8 o'clock on the dot. I would note for the record, we have a full quorum and you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. This has been properly noticed as a regular meeting, and the first item on the agenda today is tab A, approval of minutes from the October 2nd, 2025 board meeting.
And we are on the State Board of Land
Yep,
Commissioners.
we are beginning with the State Board of Land Commissioners today.
You members of the board, you have had a chance to review the minutes. Are there corrections, comments, additions? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam
Would
Superintendent.
move to approve the minutes from October 2nd of the Board of Land Commissioners.
Thank you. Is there support for that motion?
Second.
It's been seconded by the auditor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, you will see tab B, which are reports, all informational only. If there are any questions from any members of the board, we have staff here that are prepared to answer those questions.
Members of the board, are there any questions for the staff? Hearing none, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Noting that we've provided materials in advance of the meeting and briefed each board member individually, I am prepared to propose a consent list for the board's consideration. It should be in front of each board member where you can see the list of proposed consent list items.
And for the record, I'll just, I think I'm looking at the right list. C1 and C2, E1 through E6, F2 through F9, G4 and G5, G7, G9 and G10, H1 and H2.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. If there is no concern about that, I would entertain a motion to form a consent list.
Mr. Chairman, I would move the consent list as presented.
Thank you. Is there support for that?
Second.
It's been seconded by the auditor, made by the superintendent. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Nays? That motion carries. We have a consent list. I would entertain a motion to approve the director's recommendations for the items on the consent list.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Auditor.
Second.
It's been seconded by the superintendent. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That brings you to tab C, Forestry Matters, and we have Forester Norris available virtually to do her report for the board.
Good morning, Forester Norris. We had you for a second. There we do again.
All right, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you. Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. I appreciate the time to provide you a state forestry update. My apologies for not being in person to give my update. I am in Casper at the 65th Annual Wyoming Rural Fire Meeting today and tomorrow. This meeting brings together all 23 fire wardens and Wyoming fire leadership, along with the federal agency fire leadership and forest supervisors and state forestry to improve upon coordination together in wildfire season and in preparation for next year. When it comes to wildfire update, since the October board update, Wyoming continued to have fires as the cold and snow did not arrive till just after Thanksgiving this year. Even though the 2025 fire year was not as devastating as last year, it was still above average. From our end of November numbers, Wyoming reported just over 1,620 fires for 249,882 acres, so just under 250,000 acres on all lands in Wyoming. Tracking closely to what happened in the previous years, about 79% of the fires reported were on state and private lands. This year, though, acres burned on state and private lands only made up 35% of the total acres burned, which was a welcome change from last year when we experienced pretty high numbers of acres burned on state and private lands. So the state and private numbers are 1,283 fires, burning 88,131 acres respectively. There is a total of 18 emergency fire suppression account fires in 8 counties. The estimated suppression costs for these fires are totaling roughly about $33.5 million, and the EFSA fire cost share responsibilities are approximately $19.7 million. We had one FEMA Fire Management Assistant Grant fire, which is the Red Canyon Fire, as an FMEG fire, and that fire burned approximately 124,709 acres, all in Hot Springs County. State Forestry's helicopter operation had a very busy fire season. There were days when we had the helicopter program responding to 3 or 4 fires during an operational period, especially since we had 2 helicopters responding this year. The program responded to 76 initial attack missions. 220,512 gallons of water was delivered through bucket drops. This is 60,000 gallons more than last year. 275 flight hours. And again, this is much higher than last year because of the 2 helicopters. And what it really indicated is when helicopters are provided, they are used. So the HeliTAC program responded to fires in 14 different counties in Wyoming this year. The State Forestry single-engine air tankers split their operation times in the Casper tanker base, as well as the BLM Moreland seat base, or the newly developed Gillette seat base. For the first time in 5 years, the Gillette seat base was able to be restood up, and we brought the old trailer that was in the Casper tanker base up to Gillette for use. The SEEP program responded to 76 fires and over 189,000 gallons of retardant, plus an additional 30,000 gallons of water, since we ran out of retardant in Gillette, were dropped this year. The seats supported 18 different Wyoming counties and also responded to fires in the Pine Ridge Reservation, as well to a fire in Nebraska. As for the smoke busters, they responded to 10 wildfires in 6 different counties, as well as one in Custer, South Dakota. Additional accomplishments for the smoke busters is they treated 157 acres of hazardous fuels, many of which were in coordination with WYDOT along roadways within that Newcastle area, and they burned over 3,000 piles this past year. Wyoming did lose homes. We lost outbuildings and barns, fences and a few cattle, and some critical grass, but was successful in no loss of life, firefighter or civilian. So no major injuries were associated with wildfire suppression activities this year as well. This is important to continue to meet that, and hence our annual meeting over the next 2 days. I can't praise our state forestry staff enough for the dedication to Wyoming and her communities. We had additional staff due to the additional aviation program. So we had a aviation seat base manager, as well as additional staff to help run that program, and it made a major difference in our effectiveness. We did have recently a change in staffing with the retirement of Gary Hobbs in October, who was State Forestry shop foreman. This position has been filled with a longtime State Forestry employee, Brian Ott, and we're currently recruiting for Brian's position. I'm also incredibly grateful to Wyoming's county fire districts and their departments who have been responding tirelessly to wildfire calls. We could not have been as successful as we were without the support of Wyoming's legislature, who provided the additional aviation assets for this year. And lastly, I do want to thank Wyoming BLM and the U.S. Forest Service for the support in wildland fire response through their interagency coordination, resources, and equipment. Last month, Governor Gordon sent a thank you note to Secretary Brooke Rollins and Secretary Doug Burgum, thanking both agencies for their intentional actions taken to help prevent Wyoming's lives, homes, and resources. Moving on to forestry update. This week, State Forestry met with the U.S. Forest Service supervisors and regional timber staff, as well as the BLM forestry leadership and South Dakota forestry leadership for a statewide timber meeting here in Casper. The results of the meeting were to really agree upon this 1 to 5 year timber planning outlook for the state of Wyoming, looking at volumes across these 3 agencies. And really, we took a hard look at what we would call these regional timber baskets and what we can do to really set them up and do more within them long-term for long-term planning, combining forests, combining districts, combining the work that we can do together. So as our Good Neighbor Authority program continues to grow, State Forestry's contributions to the overall accomplishments in timber sold within Wyoming continues to grow. We found out our G&A sales over this last year were about 50% of the volume that came out of the federal forested lands. Very, very high marks for us. State Forestry is getting fully staffed right now. So our forestry staff in our field offices, we now have 2 full-time G&A foresters, one for the Black Hills and one for the Bridger Teton. And then the Shoshone, the Medicine Bow Route, the Bighorns, and Black Hills also host a G&A contract forester each. The Bridger Teton National Forest is continuing to work on their forest plan revision. An upcoming cooperator meeting is coming up yet this month. Counties, state agencies, and conservation districts will be meeting with the Bridger Teton leadership to help create a need for change for the forest plan. This is a real great step in the right direction of empowering local level planning. And lastly, I had the honor to provide testimony earlier this week at the Senate Energy and Natural Resources, Public Lands, Forests, and Mining Subcommittee hearing on behalf of Wyoming. The hearing was to receive testimony on pending legislation, and I provided testimony on Senator Barrasso, Senate File 140, a bill to address the forest health crisis on national forest systems and public lands and for other purposes. And with that, I'll end my presentation here and then open it up to any questions that the chairman or the board may have.
Thank you, Forrester. Are there questions? Any questions? Forrester Norris, I would only ask one thing. If you were looking out over the transom at next summer, are there things that you think that we can focus on that you might be needing?
Mr. Chairman, yes, great question. I think what we are going to be really needing is increasing our boots on the ground skills. And the boots on the ground to help support our volunteer firefighters as these fires continue to last longer than we expect them to be. I also think working on our fuels. We have a lot of work ahead of us in Wyoming within and around our communities that we could be doing more work trying to reduce the risk that could be coming when a wildfire does happen.
Thank you very much. Anything else? There are none. Get back. Please give our best to all of those that you're meeting with. It's a great convention. Thanks very much for being here today.
Thank you, and I wish you all a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you in February.
Very good.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Madam Director, back to you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. This now takes you on your agenda to tab E, surface lease matters, down to number 7 on the agenda. This is a special use lease application, number 1142. This is an application for an offset well pad and access road. The applicant is Continental Resources. The request today is not only to award a special use lease for this purpose, but also for the board to find no substantive impairment to the existing grazing and agricultural lease due to the fact that the applicant and the grazing lessees have not been able to agree on a surface impact payment. The proposed well pad is planned to accommodate 2 wells that will produce 100% off-lease minerals, and the Boner Brothers Partnership is the current surface lessee with an ag and grazing lease that encompasses 4,464 acres and 1,081 animal unit months. The well pad would equate to a loss of 4.52 animal unit months. The staff in our office has worked extensively with both the applicant and the grazing lessee to determine that this well pad would not substantively impair the grazing lease, although a surface impact payment has not been negotiated. The office's recommendation would be to approve the offset well pad and access road, as well as finding no substantive impact. I believe we may have parties today that wish to address the board on this board matter.
Very good. Are there questions for the staff?
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, just want to clarify further then. So today we're just moving forward on consent. Negotiation of the SIP will be in the future.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Superintendent, that is correct.
Thank you.
Very good. Further questions? If there are none, do we have parties anxious to address the board? Mr. Bump. Okay. Call once again. Either online or here. If there are none,
Mr. Chairman, the only other thing I would share is an email that Mr. Booth has printed out from the grazing lessee in case of them not being able to attend today. I believe you will find in there the second paragraph that shows the grazing lessee's concern. And I believe this comment applies to not only this board matter, but number 8 as well, because it is the same grazing lessee and the same applicant.
Mr.
very
Chairman.
good. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move director's recommendation.
It's been, director's recommendation's been moved and seconded by the Secretary of State. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That brings us to tab 8, which is board matter E8. Similarly, this is for your consideration of a special use lease for an offset well pad and access road. The applicant again is Continental Resources, and the Boner Brothers Partnership is the current surface lessee under the grazing and agricultural lease use. They have the same grazing lease that was mentioned in the last board matter. And the loss of AUMs would equate to 4.13 AUMs. As mentioned previously, the staff in the office has gone through an evaluation and worked with both the grazing lessee and the applicant to determine no substantive impairment to the existing grazing lessee. So the director's recommendation for this board matter as well would be to determine no substantive impairment of the grazing and agricultural lease and approve the above described application for special use lease for a term of 25 years.
Thank you. Again, questions for the staff?
For 25 years, what's the, I guess, the term of the lease? Most of these leases are 25 as far as, you know, the product, I mean, until you have production, there's no production on there. So what's the, why 25 and not 2, that same term as the lease?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Treasurer, the distinction here is that in our typical oil and gas mineral lease, that term is going to be a primary term of 5 years, and then it can be extended 1 year increments up to an additional 5 years for a total term of 10. Once those leases reach a status of production, then they're in production and the lease remains for as long as they produce in payable quantities. What you have differently here is this isn't an oil and gas lease, and the purpose of the special use lease is they are utilizing the state surface to drill off-lease minerals. And that's what necessitates that special use lease as opposed to that oil and gas lease. And they've requested a term of 25 years. So when you look at our special use leases for off-lease mineral drilling activities, it is consistent. 25 to 30 years is what we typically see on a special use lease term.
Yeah, I guess follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, please.
Our other special use leases, like, I guess up in Teton County, they're only 5 years. We don't have any 25-year leases up there, do we? Or is it just the term is I guess, coincides with the use?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Treasurer, that is correct. Within Chapter 5 of the board's rules and regulations, it specifically outlines the term is for the economic lifespan, estimated economic lifespan of the use. And so when you're referencing the permits in Teton County, those are for a term of 5 years, but that's through our temporary use permit vehicle. And there is a limitation within rule that it can only be up to 5 years. So we're in special use lease world with these two matters here, and statute allows for the term to be up to 75 years.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
I was just gonna make a motion to approve it.
Okay,
Wanna go around?
let me just ask if there are any other questions. Just for the sake of comparison, Madam Director, I'm anxious about lessons learned in the past. And I think some of the current concerns expressed here are ones I'd love to sort of examine again what the lease requirements are for private lands, if to the degree that we can, just to see if we're way out of whack. Because I do appreciate some of the points that are made, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please know that we do that. Our field staff and appraisal staff within there uses all data that we can gather, but that point is well taken.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Secretary, if you'd like to make the motion?
Yeah, motion to approve the director's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there support for the Secretary's motion? It's been seconded by, I'm going to say auditor. She was a millisecond ahead of you, Superintendent. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Nays? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That brings you to matter number E9. This is the third special use application. This time, a offset well pad pipeline and access road. The applicant is EOG Resources. This is located in Campbell County. In this case as well, the evaluation for the board today is not only to award a special use lease, but also to find no substantive impairment to this grazing lease. Floyd C. Reno and Sons is the current surface lessee under the grazing and agricultural lease. They are leasing 640 acres, which has 183 animal unit months. We anticipate that the animal unit months foregone by this special use lease is 3.43. As with the previous two board matters, our staff has worked extensively to make sure that there is no substantive impairment to that grazing lease, but a surface impact payment has not been negotiated. So the recommendation today is for the board to determine no substantive impairment, as well as awarding this special use lease for the above described application for the term of 25 years.
Very good. Thank you. Questions for the staff? If there are none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Superintendent?
Mr. Chairman would move to approve director's recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I second, I guess, just knowing this is a different party, would we?
I can ask if there's anyone here. Anyone here? Oh. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Back to the point. We have a motion. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That brings us to board matter E10. Board matter E10 is for the board to consider a request from Bright Rock Energy LLC for a royalty-free disposition of the state's interest in gas from the Buster Federal 3502-3573 in DH well on state oil and gas lease number 18-00428. As discussed in all of your briefings, based on reports submitted by Bright Rock, oil sales have paid total oil royalties to the board in the amount of $610,487.39 for the designated flaring periods. The estimated royalty loss to the state on the flared gas is approximately 1.39% of royalties collected on the oil sales, or $8,502.43. The WOGCC approved the flaring of this well, and flaring was necessary in order to produce the oil from the well. The royalties received by the state on the oil production do significantly exceed the royalties lost on the flared gas. Therefore, the director recommendation on this is to approve royalty-free disposition of the state's interest in the gas produced from the Buster Federal 3502.
Thank you, Madam Director. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Treasurer?
Yeah, one of the things that I know that has happened in Wyoming and is extensively occurring, I think, in Texas in different areas, they're using that flared gas, they're putting into, you know, either a gas turbine or a natural gas engine, similar, I think, to the ones that are being, engines that are gonna be produced in Casper. And then they use it to mine Bitcoin. And my question would be, is there anything that would prohibit the state from developing the economic resource of the natural gas that's being flared? Or can we retain the right on the natural gas to develop it in a manner that's returns more than the I guess the deferred royalties? And we're getting no royalties now, is what we're saying, is that we're gonna just let them flare the gas for nothing. Is that what I'm understanding?
Madam Director.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Treasurer, until a company requests that it be royalty-free, they do owe royalties on the flared gas. I would defer to Mr. Peters on your legal question, but that's why the company has come forward to request not to pay. As mentioned in the briefings, this well has been acquired by 1876 Resources, and they are currently paying the royalty on the flared gas. This company wanted to pursue not paying the royalty on the flared gas.
I guess what I'm trying to get to, Mr. Chairman, is that if we're gonna forego the royalties, we're not gonna get anything out of it. I'd like to retain the rights to get something out of the flared gas. If somebody wants to, you know, capture the flared gas and mine Bitcoin with it, then, or capture the flared gas and truck it off, and then we would get a royalty out of that. I think that we shouldn't forego that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Treasurer, I think that is the case. And I mean, as long as it is approved by OGCC, then they're able to flare. My question is also, do we have any idea if 1876 is putting in a pipeline, or do they continue with that approval from OGCC?
Mr. Chairman, Madam Superintendent, I don't have the answer to that off the top of my head. My understanding from Bright Rock has been that it still has just not been economically feasible to get that gas transmission pipeline out there yet. I don't know what developments have come forward. 1876 took over the well 1 year ago. So I would hazard a guess that they're still just flaring because there isn't the pipeline, but I don't know what the closeness is of being able to get that into a working order is.
And just to opine, and do you have a follow-up on that?
No, the only thing I would mention, this might be better for discussion if there's a motion. I mean, I think, and kind of back to the treasurer's point, I mean, these ones are always interesting, and for us to determine, you know, was this a dry hole or not? And if we want to give that relief, I mean, this one is different than some of the ones we've seen in the past. I mean, their gross value of oil sold is over 30 million. And so it obviously wasn't a dry hole here that we're talking about. And normally I'd be a yes for that relief if there's necessary. So anyway, just an opining there.
Yeah, thanks. I think
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm
Mr.
not against giving them the relief and not paying the royalties. I just want to have the state retain the right to develop the gas and get royalties from another party. So that's why give something up for nothing, I guess, or
Sure.
even having a chance of getting something out of it. And go back to the old fiduciary duties that we have. If it's on a state land, you know, we shouldn't just throw the opportunity out the window and say goodbye.
And Mr. Treasurer, I appreciate that. I think there may be some practical limitations to being able to do that. But I understand that. I think that several companies have put in Bitcoin mining operations. I know, Madam Director, serving with you on the OGCC, I think we've seen a few of those. I know in my time we have. North Dakota also has required sort of putting some capturing to get NGLs off of that, which I think would be something that could be considered, not necessarily here. I think we're just looking at the royalty. But, you know, I have to say, I always worry a little bit about forgiving royalties, particularly on flaring. I understand the economic challenge of building a pipeline and gathering infrastructure and all the other necessary components of that, it's expensive. And depending on where, you know, how far that is, that can be a big challenge. So I do understand that. But I'm not particularly favorable to excusing royalties just because we can't get gas into a pipeline. Further discussion? If not, then I entertain a
I'm
motion.
just
Go
wondering,
ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if the motion is amendable to retain the rights to, the state to maintain the rights to produce income off that gas if it's.
I'm not sure we have a motion in front of us
Well,
yet.
Mr. Chair. oh,
I would move the director's recs, Mr. Chairman.
I'll let him finish that. And then
Okay, motion has been made. Is there a second? There's a second.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Treasurer, one thing that I would note is I think that since this director's recommendation is only for the period of 2021 to 2024, when it was approved to flare, I believe we retain that right going forward with the new owner and producer of that well. So this is only for that finite period of 21 to 24 during approved flaring times for that purpose. Does that help?
So we're basically forgiving money that's owed to the state.
That's correct.
I withdraw my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Is that okay with you, Madam Seconder?
I mean, I can't not
Yeah.
be okay with
Yeah,
that.
no, I got
mean-
that. I'm just saying.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the point is, I mean, it's still de minimis when you look at the amount. And I think that's where the director's recommendation comes from. This is a de minimis amount. They're not making any money off of it. In a lot of these cases, you do have to flare. I've been through it. That's why you go through the OGCC, have that, you know, and it is expensive to put in a pipeline. There are other options. I think just for me here and in the past, I have voted yes on these royalty-free dispositions. But like I said, in this case, I mean, this wasn't a dry hole. They've made good money off of this. And so that $8,000 compared to the 30 million, it's tough to justify when I know that we'll have some in the future where it's de minimis and it was a dry hole and they are eating money on this and they need the relief from the state.
Thank you. Well, I would still entertain a motion. I think we've talked about it, approaches to this. One would be to move the director's rec, and if your disposition is against that motion, then vote against it. That's probably cleanest.
Mr. Chairman, I would move director's rec.
Okay, that motion's been made. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by the superintendent. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays?
No.
That motion fails.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That takes us to tab F. The first matter for the board's consideration under tab F is F1. I think for the benefit of the public here today, I would ask Mr. Booth to just give a brief overview of the results of our most recent oil and gas lease auction.
Mr. Chairman, during our November auction, we offered 197 parcels, and that totaled a little under 66,000 acres. Of those, 121 received successful bids to the tune of close to 39,000 acres. 106 of these were offered at a royalty rate of 16 2/3%, and the remaining 15 were at 12.5%. The auction grossed $2,047,005. And the office is recommending the approval of the final auction results as described in the attached spreadsheet. The other thing I would also like for the board to know is that David Finnerty, who's president of Arkland LLC, has shared a concern with OSLI with 3 separate leases within the final list that's attached. These are parcels 54, 55, and 56. And the lands are associated with 3 coal mines. And those coal mine leases are issued to Thunder Basin Coal LLC. And those are active coal mines they're producing. So Verde Land LLC was the successful bidder of these 3 oil and gas leases. Bids for the 3 leases range from $1 an acre to $208 an acre for a total bonus revenue in the auction of $176,440. Pursuant to the rules and regulations, the board reserves the right to issue multiple leases on the same section. All those with a lease have equal opportunity to produce. The first lessee to produce shall have the right to continue operations without substantial interference from any other mineral lessee as long as the lease remains in effect. If a lessee desires to commence operation on the same track, they're expected to work with the existing lessee. If they can't come to resolution, they remand the decision back to the director. Since the coal leases are in a producing status, the coal company has the right to continue to produce without substantial interference from any oil and gas lease. Staff were able to speak with Verdi to understand their plans to develop this lease, and should the board approve the board matter, Verdi does not intend to utilize the surface of the state section for development activities. Instead, they plan to have a top hole location outside the mine boundary and lateral in to drain the state section. I was also able to speak to Mr. Finnerty to explain Verdi's intention to develop the lease with horizontal drilling technology and also explain the board's rules and regulations. He remained steadfast in his belief that regardless of the board's rules and regulations and the possibility that oil and gas may be able to take place in conjunction with the coal lease, the oil and gas leases still pose an undue hardship on the coal company because they don't have the resources to work with the oil and gas company to establish a plan that works for both sides. Both Mr. Finnerty and Verdi have been given links to the meeting, and I believe I saw Mr. Finnerty online. I'm not sure if Verdi's here, but if the board should have any questions, they're available. And with that, happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you. Let me begin with questions for the staff. Are there any questions for the staff? I have one, Cody, and maybe it comes up later in the conversation. Is this within the perimeter of the existing mine, or is it an anticipated mined into area?
Mr. Chairman, I believe there is a producing coal mine on top of this section. As
Okay.
far as the top hole location, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. So I would recognize Mr. Finnerty. I think your hand is up.
Yes, sir.
We can hear you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, I am not a Zoom savvy person. Is there a way for me to share a screen with you all?
I will give that to Mr. Bump to give you some advice, and then I would also ask that you identify yourself.
Yes, David Finnerty, president of Arc Land Company. Run the land companies for Core Natural Resources. The Black Thunder Mine, as you're aware, is situated in Campbell County, Wyoming, along with our Coal Creek mine. I have been working with OSLI for the better part of 11 years, dating back to late 2013, early 2014, when these auctions started to go off. And we would, or very early on, get very late notice of parcels that were being nominated and potentially put to auction that were located within our permit boundary. You may be familiar with the Black Thunder Mine. It's got a permit boundary approaching 30,000 acres or 52 square miles. And the relationship has been very good since early 2013, early 2014. We had to go on a staunch letter writing campaign. And after that, in the discussions with OSLI, I've been privy to a preview of these oil and gas sales to see if in fact there's any conflict. And the relationship has worked very well for more than a decade. However, this last oil and gas sale, I was given the parcels, very easily and quickly identified the conflict zones, and responded to the person who sent that to me. She had an out of office reply on, so I responded to an individual who was copied on that email and cited my concerns about the parcels 54, 55, and 56 being inside our active permit. And the response that I received was simply, appreciate your concerns, we're going to include them anyway. I find that response absolutely reckless. As you know, we are a great contributor to the economy of the state of Wyoming by what we do within Campbell County. And we have been contributing to the state's success for decades. And to have a flippant response like that provided to me just seemed quite reckless. Back to the matter at hand, these parcels are in fact inside our active permit. And the logistics of allowing people, third parties, to come within the confines of our permit and our active coal mining traffic patterns just doesn't make good sense to us. And these are the arguments we've put forth for more than a decade. And seemingly OSLI has understood and respected these, but somehow this mindset has changed. And so I have been very adamant, and Mr. Booth can attest to that. We had a lengthy discussion yesterday. I appreciate his time. He was very detailed in listening to my concerns, but we are creating a conflict when one doesn't exist currently. For us to sit and have to work with a third-party oil and gas company to try and figure it out, it's simply a burden on us. And again, we don't have a lot of people at these coal mines. You know, the margins have been razor thin, as you are quite aware, over the past several years. And to have to sit and dedicate somebody's time to put forth a focus on an oil and gas company's concern is just a strain on the resources that we have. And again, if I was able to provide a screen share, I think the picture would speak volumes when you look at the proximity of these nominated tracks versus our active coal mine permit boundary and the activities that are ongoing every day at the coal mine. In addition, we own a great deal of surface around these tracks, as does the U.S. Forest Service. And when I look at these tracks, there is just not a good logical setup point to access these resources. You're looking at probably 3.5 to 4.5 miles to get outside of our permit boundary, and I don't think that drilling that length is practical at this point in time. With that, I will certainly take any questions, and still I would like to try and figure out how to share my screen with you, because again, the picture will speak volumes.
Thank you, Mr. Finnerty. Mr. Bump, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Finnerty, it'll ask you to rejoin as a panelist in a moment, and then you'll be able to share your screen by pressing the button that says share screen at the bottom.
Thank you.
We'll give you a second to see if that works.
Can you all hear me?
We can, and we can see we can see the map up now. You should be able to see it well.
The yellow dashed line is the active permit boundary I spoke of, and the solid yellow lines are the nominated tracks that were put forth in the early November sale. And you can see logistically, these are problematic for our operation. You can see our facilities right here. And again, I understand that Verde has indicated that they wouldn't intend to surface occupy, but again, you can see the sections here. And pushing to the east, you get into these facilities that we're actually starting to reoccupy as we look to obtain maximum economic recovery and start mining these facilities that are here to the west. And as you push further to the east, then the options are to get permits on Forest Service land and drill back to the west, which we don't think is very practical. But once again, they remain inside of our permit boundary. Same issue down in this area. We own the surface here. Forest Service is surfaces all around this way. And as you go further east here, this is private ownership and some Forest Service right in here. But again, you can see our permit line coming along the east side here. Again, at a very high level, the sale of these parcels is simply creating a conflict where one currently does not exist. And we are asking for the parcels to be removed from the sale.
A couple of questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Treasurer.
Yeah, in your permit area, were there any coal bed methane wells drilled?
There were coal bed methane wells that were drilled to the north. And when the Supreme Court ruling occurred in 1999, we quite frankly were held hostage by a company that was going to protest our ability to expand our coal mine at that time. So to answer your question, the answer to your question is yes, but they were placed there in advance of us getting the permit, and they had the right to do that from that 1999 Supreme Court ruling.
Okay. I guess now that the whole, I guess, yellow dashed area is your permit area there. And now you're not going to, I guess, mine every surface acre in the whole yellow dashed area, are you?
We are not.
Is any idea about, you know, the intended size and scope over the next 100 years, what that mining area might look like?
Tell me what the price of coal is going to be in 10 years. I could probably give you a better answer.
Price of let's you know, everything can be hypothetical, but I'm just trying to ascertain what the you know, the coal resources are in your permit area. And the other thing, I guess, the yellow box there where it looks like there's some water in the bottom of your mine. I'm not sure if that's what it is or not there in the center. How big is that yellow box? Is that
It's 1 square mile.
1 square mile?
Yes, sir.
That's just a section. And are these guys planning on locating it outside of that yellow box? Or I guess.
Well, let me just back up.
Yeah.
Logistically, for them, let's just say that they're going to go ahead and occupy the surface and go ahead and drill these things vertically, which I know they don't want to do because they can't maximize their laterals. They generally have to be off lease and drill back in order to get the maximum value of a horizontal well.
Yeah.
But this right here is a haul road that interconnects the northern part of our operation to the southern part of our operation. There is no access to this state section off of this highway, which is Highway 450. The only access to get into these areas is coming through our main gate and then introducing these people to our daily haul truck traffic flow, which we will be adamantly against.
Well, they'd have to get an easement from you to do that. I don't think they've got eminent domain to get an easement on your haul road.
Well, I wouldn't think so, but once again, by offering the parcel for sale, the conflict that currently doesn't exist is being created because they're going to wear us out trying to find out 10 different ways how they can do this, that, and the other. And as I've already stated, we have very few resources to focus on somebody else's business when we need to be focusing on our core business of mining coal.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. We like you as a business partner. Just wondering that, you know, the stipulations and the things that are current concerns there, I think those could all be stipulated in the lease. This lease doesn't have to move forward today, perhaps, but I think that we can be as accommodative to both parties as we can. I think a lot of these laterals are going 2+ miles now, so they can locate quite a ways off from that section that you got there. And does the coal seam run in between the two yellow blocks that I see on the map? Is that where most of it is, or do we know?
The coal has generally been mined out within this area, but we have a, what we call a highway corridor that runs down Highway 450 that has been unmined for 35 years. And we are looking to, at some point, relocate our facilities, as I discussed with you, and look at monetizing and relocating that highway so that we can mine that coal. Right now the economics are not favorable, but again, we're seeing a renewed interest in Southern Powder River Basin coal.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
And again,
Chairman?
just to keep it in perspective, I understand and respect the fact that the technology is increased, but anywhere they would set up to try and drill under this square section, this square 1 mile, they have to be within our permit boundary. And then we become responsible, and we have permitting and reclamation diligence implications with that. And again, creating a conflict when one currently does not exist.
Thank you, Mr. Finnerty. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Madam Auditor.
Mr. Finnerty, one question. This is for 3 parcels. Do you have the third one identified on your map, or is that elsewhere?
The third one, ma'am, is in section 27 right here. So this is the first parcel, 54, I believe. This is 55 within section 26. And then this 40 acres right here is state of Wyoming mineral or oil and gas rights in section 27. So yes, ma'am, all 3 parcels are in, but this polygon encompasses 2 of the parcels.
Mr. Secretary and then Superintendent. Okay, Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Finnerty. I understand and hear your concerns. Please know that, this board, we're really interested in how we, meet our fiduciary, maximize revenue, and have multiple use in these areas. I hear you that it's, extra effort and trying to work with this operator as they would pursue efforts. I'm just curious. I mean, I feel like we've been speculating a lot on what they'd be able to do from where. I mean, I would even contend that now we've got laterals in Wyoming that are upwards of almost 4-mile laterals. And so just if you could explain a little bit more of how just the impossibility of being able to work with the operator that might in fact be drilling a 3.5-mile lateral.
Well, once again, everything you see right here in blue is surface that we control that is inside our active permit boundary. If they come in and they want to occupy and try and drill this area, then we're going to have to dedicate resources to work with the DEQ to modify somehow permits, assuming we ever get comfortable with having people come in and being in the direct traffic flow of our daily operations, which we are not going to get comfortable with. So when you look and you say, okay, let's go 4 miles to the east and drill from section 18. I suspect the oil and gas company will tell you, well, that's kind of a stretch. And if they want to try and get a permit on the Forest Service ground right out here, they're certainly free to do that. But we have rights within that area already that we obtained from the Forest Service many years ago. Again, logistically, it becomes very difficult to drill this section from anywhere outside of our permit boundary and not being in conflict with what we do.
Follow up on that at all? Okay, thank you. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks, Mr. Finnerty, for coming in. Certainly understand your concerns and listening here, and I sense and I know that you're concerned with all 3. I just want to get your sort of feeling on the 2 other ones that aren't at the entry point for the mine. I mean, are you less concerned about those, or is it equal concern? Or
I am less concerned, and certainly that becomes doable from the east east side over here. But one of the concerns that we have, these red triangles are air monitors. And hypothetically, if they sat in section 25 and drilled back to the west, we could have exposure from their activities into those air monitors. And then we're left to parse it out with the DEQ and try and convince them that it wasn't us.
Okay,
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, I apologize on this one. This is a point of clarification. The entry point lease is parcel 54, right? Or is it, which one is that one? The one at the entry?
Mr. Finnerty, did you
Or
hear?
staff can do that.
or-
Yeah, I didn't understand the question. Please repeat it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The one at the entry point, which parcel is that one? Is that's 54, right?
I'm not certain. Let me take a
54
look.
is section 16.
Yeah.
640.
And that's, Mr. Secretary, you're saying the entry point for the coal mining operation? Yeah, that, I believe, Mr. Finnerty,
No.
that's what you
No,
suggested.
this is not the entry point. This is a road that goes under Highway 450. This is how we get our trucks, men and women, back and forth from the north and south side of the property, with Highway 450 being the impediment. Our access to the property has to come through our main gate off of this road right here. And then it has to access this area, if they wanted to occupy this surface land, would be, the only means would be commingling with our daily traffic flow. And again, we're going to find that quite unacceptable.
Yeah, so section 17. Any follow-up? So, Mr. Finnerty, there are several things here that I guess I think you've pointed out that I think are problematic about the leases that we're talking about. One thing I would love to understand, I don't know what the mix of BLM and if those minerals have been leased, number one, if there are any private. I think you own all that private, but I'm assuming that there's no development. I guess what I'm saying is, are the mineral positions currently leased in any proximity to these?
Well, yeah, we have a lease with the state of Wyoming for the minerals in section.
Actually, I meant oil and gas, for oil and gas.
Oh, no, not currently to my knowledge. Now, I will tell you that we have been doing our best over the last 2 decades to work with oil and gas communities. We all have to get along. I get it. And quite honestly, I will tell you that I think it may be Anschutz Resources had acquired a lease on this section 36 that we previewed with OSLI several years ago. And they approached us and worked with us and looked to drill this from the west side of the main line. The main line railroad is a key distinctive feature within the basin, and they are looking to produce gas from this section from right here. No problem at all with us. We agreed and we entered into a surface use and access agreement with them. And we find that not a direct conflict with our active mining operations.
Okay, thank you. And I also thank you for pointing out the air monitoring sites. During coal bed methane, there were a lot of issues with fugitive dust just from the traffic. And you all have the monitors, you have the data. You are the ones that would have your operations affected if those monitors exceeded and they came close during some of that. So I'm well aware of that particular issue, and I certainly thank you for highlighting it. And the last thing I guess that I get a bit concerned about, and I know in that area there are several landowners that feel like their minerals have been leased but not developed, and this is an ongoing issue that has that has, you know, I think Oil and Gas Commission tried to sort of rectify pieces of that because for a while, all we were doing was selling leasehold and then nobody was developing it. So we weren't getting much out of it. And meanwhile, people couldn't get that, couldn't get the interest elsewhere. So that was the reason for my question is, you know, is this part of an existing DSU? Is it part of any other sort of larger leasehold? And I think your comment is you're not aware of that.
Well, I can tell you that there is an abundance of oil and gas activity around our operation. And again, we have been very measured in looking and working with oil and gas producers, making sure they understand the restrictions and the standards that we need them to operate by so they do not negatively affect our interests.
Okay, so the last question, and I remember this under coal bed methane as well, is that there were, and I'm just curious about your experience, there was some activity, I'm not going to characterize it in any particular negative way, but if there was a knowledge of a coal mine expanding operations into an area, sometimes the coal mine had to buy out the existing oil and gas lease to be able to go through that. Do you see any issues like that, or have you had experience with that in the past?
Yes, sir. We've had painful experiences. I alluded to earlier, the Supreme Court decision of 1999 that made the coal bed methane separate and distinct from the coal caused a waterfall of activity, and quite frankly, it was a hostage situation that we had to essentially pony up and enter into a global agreement with a coal bed methane operator. And we did that. It was very costly and painful. It's beyond us at this point in time. But everything you see right here where my cursor is going back and forth was inundated with coal bed methane wells. And we entered into an agreement with them in late 99, early 2000, and they agreed to set up their field so that it could be retreated. All the gas went off to the north, and instead of coming back being counterintuitive to our mining direction, and we were able to take those wells out over time rather than having to create very large pipeline gas relocation projects and things of that nature to accommodate gas. So we have been party to the negative side of that 99 decision, and it certainly was painful.
Thank you. And Mr. Booth, for you, if we were to issue this lease, how long would they hold it?
Mr. Chairman, their primary term would be for 5 years, and if they have an appropriate extension rationale and make the request, they can renew that in 1 year increments up to another 5 years for a total of 10 year. And then if they come into production, it will be valid until they stop producing in payable quantities.
And Mr. Booth, have we had any experience with any kind of conflict like this? I know, you know, back in 2019, I was saying we should figure out a policy for, because this isn't the only kind of duplication of challenges. We also have wind development on top of Trona. We have oil and gas on top of Trona. We have, you know, other things that could be happening. Trona, you know, with other uses. And I'd love to see us figure out a way to sort of kind of prioritize or expedite or figure out a way to deal with that so we can avoid these kinds of situations. I think he has a legitimate issue.
Mr. Chairman, great point. First experience that I've had with this, happy to look into it further.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, to that point, I want to reiterate that for more than a decade, after a staunch letter writing campaign for this very issue, and in fact, that very section in the middle of the screen, we got an understanding with OSLI, and have been privy for more than a decade to preview of these sales. And it's been a 10-minute exercise. Our email back said, yes, these are in conflict with our active operation. The parcels are pulled. And it's been a great relationship and understanding, because I, quite frankly, a decade ago, I said, nobody is looking at these maps. And it was true. But as you can see, the map in front of you speaks volumes as to the conflict. And for some reason, that temperament changed this last sale. And the parcels were pushed forward without any deference to the fact that we had concerns for those. And here we are today discussing it. And I'm glad it's brought and elevated to the highest levels within the state of Wyoming, because there is conflict out there. But I will also say that we work to get along with the oil and gas producers, because it's a very small world, and we're all trying to bring energy to this great country of ours.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Finnerty. Madam Director, just before you join, I would just point out new leadership in the department and so on and so forth. But please go ahead.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, in that spirit, we've had a request from Verde Land LLC, who's not able to attend today, for the board to table these 3 parcels in an attempt for them to work with Mr. Finnerty regarding his concerns and perhaps bring this forward at the board's next regularly scheduled meeting, just for these 3 parcels, not for the entire auction.
All right. Further
Yeah, Mr.
comment?
Mr. Finnerty, could you, you said that you've been in a lot of different negotiations with different oil and gas people as far as, and you've got a list of things of, I guess, do not do on our property list, or whatever you want to, however you want to characterize it. Could you share that with the state land board, so they kind of have a good idea about where you guys stand and what you want to make sure that doesn't happen and won't interfere with your doing your job?
Yeah, we simply put forth agreements, starting number 1. We don't want conflict, and we don't want to more or less shoot ourselves in the foot by granting a right that we're held hostage to in 15 or 20 years. So we've been very measured on these agreements, that we simply say, look, if we ever show up and our mining interests are going to prevail, you guys got to leave. And these producers have been very understanding, but they've educated themselves onto the reality of where we're mining and what we're mining versus, theoretical potential mining. As you all are aware, that as the basin moves to the west, the coal gets deeper, the ratios get higher, the expenses go up. So these producers have sat with us, understood the agreements, are agreeable to the language, because the probability, again, this is mostly stuff to the west of the coal mine. The probability is very small that they have to leave will actually come to fruition. Another one is dust. As we talked about, you can see the red triangles throughout the map are the dust monitors. And again, we have no way to explain to the DEP it's not us, but I think it was alluded to a while ago. The traffic, certainly from the CBM craze and the dusting that occurred throughout Campbell County since 1999 has been a prevalent problem. So we have strict standards as far as roads, watering when they're fracking a well, and they've got 200 trucks showing up in over the course of 3 days. Reclamation, we want a certain standard of seed planted and used so that the vegetation comes back to the standards that we're adhered to within our coal mining activities. So there are several items that are very similar to the agreements that we work with, and again, we've had no trouble working with these people, and I guess we have the luxury that they have to come to us because we are such a dominant surface landowner in the area. So again, we're happy to work with them, but when we see parcels like this that are clearly a conflict to our active operation, our permitting and reclamation efforts, we've got to raise our hand.
Yeah. I think Mr. Chairman, I think we're just interested in leasing the subsurface and we don't want to interfere with your operations. And I think that there's probably a way to get to that point, and I hope we be able to get to it by the next time we meet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, Madam Director, we have a list here that I guess we accept. And so we can do that. I would highly recommend that we table these other items.
Mr. Chairman, yes, if it's acceptable to the board, the director's recommendation would be to approve the results of that oil and gas auction, and then based on the prerogative of the board, to take parcels 54, 55, and 56 off of this list to be tabled for the next meeting.
Right. So just to be clear, we would not accept them at this point.
That's
We would
correct.
table those. So
Yes, that's
everything
correct.
but parcels 54, 55, and 56.
Correct.
I move director's rec. Or were those on the consent list?
We haven't got anything going at this point. I think it would be appropriate to move to table those three parcels. So, Madam Auditor, I'll recognize you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would move to table these three parcels.
Okay,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded.
54, 55, 56.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Those are tabled.
Thank you all very much, and I appreciate your time and consideration and taking the time to understand the issue a little bit better.
Thank you, Mr. Finnerty. So we have the remainder of items on
F1.
F1.
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman would move approval of the results of the November 5th Wyoming oil and gas lease auction as presented.
Okay, it's been moved.
Second.
It's been seconded.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would recuse myself from any of those purchased by Kirkwood Oil and Gas, not because I have any conflict whatsoever, but because there could be a perceived conflict. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? And we'll record an abstention for the superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That brings you to tab G on your agenda, miscellaneous mineral matters. First is G1, and this is a request for the board to consider applications for sand, gravel, borrow material, and riprap rock leases. As you will see in the board matter, these are all new applications. The recommendation is to approve the above described applications for sand, gravel, borrow material, and riprap rock lease for a term of 2 years. There may be interested parties here today. That's why some of these were not put on the consent list.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Director. Members of the board, how would you like to proceed? I think we can go one by one. Or if there's a consent list that somebody wants to consider, they could put that forward. I will note that there are a few of these that are very proximate to towns.
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, so we have, we're just looking at the first, at G1, correct? So, perhaps a consent list within G1, is that?
I think that's certainly something we can consider. That makes sense. Mr. Secretary, are there any of these that we have some very close to Glen Rock, some close to Story, and others? Perhaps, Madam Director, let me see if there's anybody who's wanting to approach the board on any of the matters in this item. So I'll put that request out. So this is item G1. These are sand and gravel, borrow material, and rock leases. There are a number of these, and I'm just asking if anybody has, yes. Tom, come on up. I saw you come in, and good to see you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Board, my name is Tom Swanson, Casper, Wyoming. I filed an oil and gas lease gravel lease application for a section approximate to Glen Rock. And I assume that's why there was some discussion over the proximity to Glen Rock. This resource was brought to my attention by a geologist in Casper, Ralph Specht. We're 50-50% owners in it. Ralph would maintain that we have 4 episodes of potential resource deposits at this location. The idea is to hopefully get the lease and then drill holes to hopefully discover the resource. So if the resource isn't there, there's no activity after that from our point of view. We expect the resource to be there. Otherwise, we wouldn't be interested in it. So.
Thanks, Mr. Swanson.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, Madam
Thank you,
Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Swanson, thank you for taking my call earlier this week on this matter, just noting the proximity. You had mentioned to me that proximity to homes, however, was closer to more like a 3-mile radius. Is that fair?
Let me revise that to more like 1.3 miles, 1.3 rather than 3. But I did state 3 to you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Treasurer.
Let's assume that you drilled these holes and you found gravel. How long would it take, I guess, to actually start production? And could you actually start production within the 2-year time period?
If the resource is there, we certainly could. I think it also depends on the market. As you well know, there is a hydrogen plant proposed directly south of this particular lease, which would be an exceptional market if it came to pass. So I can't tell you what the market is, and I can't tell you what the price is. I can't tell you any of that. All I can tell you is that in order to drill core holes, we need a lease.
Yeah.
And then we would decide whether or not we have the resource and what the market is. And so it's a process.
Drilling core holes or doing backhoe work or something like that, is that I guess that's not cheap. It's not free. What is that a fairly substantial I guess commitment to the project?
It's certainly going to cost money to drill them. I can't tell you that we haven't gotten estimates because we don't have a lease.
Yeah.
But it is costly to do that. It's risk reward, like all resources.
Yeah. This was a 1-year lease. You probably couldn't do it, or
probably.
Yeah.
But I can't be specific and say yes, no.
And if the hydrogen company doesn't come in 3 years, you certainly couldn't do it in 2.
And I don't expect that it's going to be there in 3 years, but preliminary work could be. And it's not totally, I mean, the market isn't totally the hydrogen thing.
Yeah.
It's just a big carrot at the end of the rainbow.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.
Indeed.
Further questions, Madam Auditor?
Mr. Chairman, and could you perhaps be a little more specific on what your focus is on core samples? I'm assuming this is north of I-25, and is it to the west of Deer Creek Road? Or is it to the east of Deer Creek Road?
It is immediately north of I-25. It is immediately west of Deer Creek Road, or the first entrance from the west into Glen Rock. Cemetery is directly north, as is the city.
Thank you.
Okay. Further questions? Tom, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yep. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board on this matter? Anyone else?
Just one more question.
Oh, okay. Mr. Treasurer.
Has anybody, issued any concern at all about you moving forward with this project, for any reason that
No one has contacted us about the application. The only negative feelings that we've had about this came from the state land board staff. And that was the proximity to Glen Rock.
Right.
However, I understand why that's an issue.
Could be, yeah.
Everyone in the state understands it. But it's a different situation. We have a industrial oil and gas facility due east. We have a due southeast. We have a 100-yard square electrical facility just built. We have a fireworks stand directly south and west. We have one oil well due west, pump jack. North, we have an abandoned tank farm. And then we have the golf course. And there is one facility owned by Sage Industries that is a 1/8 of a mile north that we think is a welding shop, but we didn't go on the land to identify what happens there.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.
thank you all.
Thanks. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I would move Director's Rec for matter G1.
Okay, just to be clear, matter G1 has a number of leases, so you're talking about the whole of it. It's, okay? Is there a second for that?
Second.
It's been seconded.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, in the last few days, I've been talking to council. I do have a very close personal relationship with Mr. Specht, and he's been a mentor to me over the years, and didn't quite get from council a complete answer on whether some direction on voting on this. So I'm going to abstain from 2022, 2024, 2025, and 2027 for the same reasons that Mrs. Degenfelder cited on the Kirkwood issues for potential appearance of a conflict.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. So noted.
And sorry, I know somebody just asked this, but this is for the entire board matter.
I think the motion was for the entire board matter.
Just making sure.
All right. Thank you. One more chance at discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? And we'll record an abstention for the secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next on your agenda is matter G2. This is for the board's consideration of renewal applications for sand, gravel, borrow material, and riprap rock lease. The director's recommendation is to approve all of the renewal applications. All are in a prospecting phase, but left this off of the consent list in case interested individuals wanted to address the board.
Ask if there's anyone who would like to address the board. Mr. Bump, is there anyone online? Anyone here? All right. With that, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Superintendent.
I would move Director's recommendation for board matter G2.
It's been moved. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Nays? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That brings the board to matter G3. This is also a sand, gravel, borrow material, and riprap rock lease renewal. However, this is for the Wyoming Department of Transportation. And this recommendation is different than your typical sand and gravel recommendation. Our recommendation is that this lease be a 2-year primary term, extended 8 years thereafter for a total term of 10 consecutive years, which is different than the previous two-year term board matters that you saw. I know that we do have representatives from YDOT here today that are happy to entertain questions from the board.
Okay, members of the board, questions for the staff first? If,
Why can't we do this for all the sand and gravel leases? Is there any statutory prohibition about us in a future time, just that, because it's just hard to get all this stuff done and actually get into production in 2 years' time. Unless it's just right on the ground and get, yeah.
Mr.
Mr.
Booth.
Chairman, Mr. Treasurer, the statutes that I'm aware of specify that the board can issue mineral leases for a term of 10 years. The rules and regulations regarding sand and gravel specifically outline that it's for a 2-year primary term. So that would be the limitation.
The renewal part is what I was saying there. Yeah.
yeah, and I think, Mr. Treasurer, the point is that there's no sort of special contingency for YDOT related sand and gravel permits, at least here at the land board.
Mr.
Madam
Chairman.
Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Treasurer, something that I was contemplating and had discussed with staff was, around, because I do feel uncomfortable with this, a better handout for the state than our private sector producers. And so perhaps, approving this for 2 years and then in the interim, having that discussion of if that 2 years is adequate for everybody. I don't know if 10 years is it, but
Yeah,
might be.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's just so many, I guess, obstacles that arise or could arise, or whether you have a market, whether you don't have a market, those different things. Sand and gravel isn't that much different than oil and gas. It just is it's a mineral. Rare earths, I think that's another one there that you definitely need to have a lot more time in, because there's just so many things that you can't get done in 2 years in this day and age. So I think we do have to have a clear understanding about what the producers can and can't do.
Okay, further discussion? Further discussion?
Mr.
Madam,
Chairman,
Madam Auditor.
I'm struggling a little bit with this one too. I tend to agree with the superintendent's concern. I also think that when there's a long time producing lease with DOT that we know they need, that I hate to add extra bureaucracy, but maybe I do kind of like the idea of doing 2 years and then maybe in the interim coming up with a different vehicle. And again, it's important that everybody's on a level playing field, but operations between government agencies are different. We have a separate level of, control isn't the word I'm looking for, but we have other avenues with a government entity than we do with a private entity. So I'm not uncomfortable having 2 separate vehicles, but I'm not sure we're using the right one. So I sort of like the idea of 2 years for now and maybe contemplating a longer term solution.
Is there somebody from Wyoming Department of Transportation? Please come up. I think one of the issues here is that I think with the planning and construction and so on, it's a bit different animal than simply opportunistically selling gravel.
Definitely. Thank you, Governor Chairman. My name is Doug Jensen. I'm the Contracts and Estimate Engineer for the Wyoming Department of Transportation. Speaking to what we refer to as pits, the sand and gravel locations, most of the pits that we use or occupy at YDOT are in locations that it's not economical for other people to come in and use it. It's in areas where there's no other sources to rely on. The platform that we can offer is that this isn't YDOT producing the material. We're offering a platform for competition for the industry to come in and produce that material. The fear that we have is our planning, our roadway planning is 6 years out. And that can fluctuate in that 6 years, what roads are coming in or out of that construction season. If we don't have the lease for a pit we're intending to use, and maybe a private industry sneaks in or gets in front of us and acquires that before we can get there, he now has a monopoly where we don't have another option to get a source, and then we're required to pay what he wants us to pay. I think you would understand that competition is very important in building roads. I guess that would be my point.
Yeah, are
Mr.
there
Chairman.
questions? Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. This is maybe more for staff. For sand and gravel, is it preferential rate to renew?
Mr. Chairman, Madam Superintendent, it's an exclusive right to renew based on those 4 statutory tenants that they have to meet one of those criteria when in conflict.
Thank you.
Well, let me take a shot. So over the last, at least my experience sort of working on budgets, there have been changes in the amount that, federal money's coming in, federal money's going out, where we prioritize roads, what a new administration wants to do, like electric vehicles, for instance, that we had some experience with, and so on. So my concern is if you don't have sort of all the aspects of potential construction at least lined out, does that make your job planning much more difficult?
It definitely is a hiccup in planning. When there's not material nearby, we have to get it somewhere. So the
Yeah.
question becomes, where does that material come from? There are locations in the state where we do not have a pit available nearby. And there is a single contractor that owns that pit. And the cost of doing business there is significantly higher to be able to produce the same thing because there's no competition. There's no ability for somebody else to come in and try to produce the same thing.
And yet they know that it's the state's going to build the road.
Exactly. It's going to happen. We have to maintain them.
Yeah. Okay, Madam Auditor.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that clarity. I think my comments relating to level playing field is in no way to come in or hope that someone comes in and outbids YDOT on the spot. It's more the sense of we're essentially giving a 10-year lease out of the gate to YDOT, and we're not doing that for anybody else at a different gravel pit elsewhere. I think that's.
And Madam Auditor, correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears to me that what you're saying is here is a permit. Whoever can do that cheapest will let them do that. YDOT itself is not producing the sand and gravel.
That is correct. If I could, Chairman.
Yes, please.
I would emphasize that projects move in and out, and we don't know when those sources are going to be used, until maybe within a year time period. So that makes it interesting. A pit may sit inactive for 2 to 8 years. Being inactive doesn't mean it's not an asset to us. It still allows, when we're doing jobs nearby, for that to be a source for contractors to be able to bid and be competitive in trying to do those jobs. I'll leave it there.
Mr. Chairman, the superintendent was very thoughtful.
Madam Superintendent.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I mean, yeah, this is kind of an interesting one because of that. I think that you're actually then bidding it out to private operators. I struggle to think that we have properly analyzed if this is if this 10-year mechanism, because my understanding is it was under minerals and rather than sand and gravel previously. And so I think it seems like 10 years ago, we didn't really have a spot for it, and now we're switching it over. And so I guess my thinking out loud is I wonder if this needs some time to flesh out what this exact scenario, what the lease provision should be. And I don't know if we've done that because it hasn't even been in the proper place.
Mr. Treasurer.
I guess I look at this as a pilot program as to what we might be able to do with the private industry. And that, you know, I think we just go ahead, pass it, run it up the ladder and see what it does. And 2 years down the road, we'll have a little bit better understanding about what this pilot program looks like that we might be able to implement everywhere.
Okay, thank you. Further comments? Further comments. Thank you for being here. And thank you for clarifying what we're up to here. So with that, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I would still move approval of the application for a primary term of 2 years. And then with discussion and work by Office of State Lands to determine what process makes sense moving forward.
Okay, that's been moved. That's been seconded. Any discussion? There wasn't. No, I don't think there was. So we're looking at an initial term of 2 years. Any further discussion? I think this makes it impractical because we're basically saying that we want YDOT to develop this in the next 2 years. If they put it out for RFP, there's no determination of need or anything else because somebody's going to have to know where the roads are. And so I contemplate this failing within 2 years, and then I guess we can come back and look at it again. So, yeah. So if that's the case,
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Superintendent.
it is a renewal though, correct? So, and I guess if YDOT could opine on that, I mean, I don't think that's certainly in the intent of the motion is to stall, you know, the ability to continue. But for me, because it's a renewal and these are the same type of issues that our private operators would face, I don't know if YDOT, do you have any thoughts on that?
And Madam Superintendent, just to be responsive to that before YDOT, this is a fundamentally different animal. If I built a pit, which I did for coal bed methane, you know, I did it with the anticipation that I would have a product to sell, and I would sell it to the companies, and I could, you know, bid it and do all that sort of stuff. In this case, I think they're only saying this is an opportunity. And if the opportunity doesn't evolve, then it doesn't happen. But they have, because of their planning, it's a little bit hard to say to a contractor, you can have this, but we can't guarantee that you're going to get a renewal out of it. So that's the challenge, I think, here, being somewhat different from just being a private gravel pit and selling product. They don't have a product to sell, nor can they develop that product to sell other than the pit. Madam Director.
One thing I would offer Mr. Chairman, Madam Superintendent, that may help in this scenario is this permit is in a producing status. And since it is in a producing, not a prospecting status, it would have that right to renew. So that may buffer a little, doesn't give the 10-year security, but they would have that right to renew because they are in a producing status 2 years from now.
Fair enough. I stand corrected. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would also suggest, I'm speaking more to all of the pits that YDOT are using that are on state lands, not specific to this one. This is new to us, and we just heard about it this week, that this was happening. But all of our pits are in operation or have been opened to be mined and mined out of as projects have arisen. So it's not the cost of exploring or trying to figure out what we can do there. We've done that. It's a renewal of these. And I would suggest that the pits that we're using are in locations that aren't necessarily profitable to industry to go try to sell material. They're usually out in very small, out of small communities or out in the middle of nowhere, where the road is really its main point. Having the long term to be able to plan and work around how our material sources work is vital to YDOT in how we do it. A renewal that happens 2 years and we've got to go back and try to renew that again and again complicates that issue.
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Superintendent.
if I could just ask one more question. What would be preferable then that we move as the motion has been presented here versus tabling until our next meeting and being able to discuss this more? It sounds like you all didn't have as much time as well.
Mr. Chair, in this pit specifically, there is a job going on that there's material being produced and we need to continue with that job. But I am in hopes of that you'll have understanding of the expectation of what we use that material for and why that 10 years is important to us.
Mr. Chairman, I will just note the permit expires December 2nd, 2025. So that's why they need the renewal now.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor for a 2-year renewal. Further discussion? Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? And I would be a no on that too. Thank you. Can we have the director's recommendation's been moved. Is there a second for that?
Second, I would like us to still maybe take a look in the next, so we can maybe solve this problem better for the next one that comes around, whether that be, because I guess one of my questions, and we're under discussion, right? One of my questions is if our rules say the primary term is 2 years. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking maybe these are such a different animal than just issuing it to Joe Smith down the road that I'm wondering if this is worth a rule. So anyway, that'd be my.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with the auditor and I think, and actually superintendent that we do need to revisit this thing and try to find out, because for myself, talking about, a few $10,000 of gravel, for an hour is not productive. So
Okay.
let's figure out a way where we can make these things fewer and farther between.
All right. Thank you very much. Further discussion? Motion's been made and seconded. I will call now for all those in support of the motion. I'll say aye.
Aye.
Nays? I heard that as the secretary said no, and the remainder are ayes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next on your agenda is matter G6. This is a consideration of applications for coal lease. The recommendation from our office is to award the above listed coal leases for a term of 10 years. This was taken off the consent list just due to proximity to a locality. And I believe we have folks that would like to speak on this matter.
Very good. Questions for the staff first? If there are none, if there's someone here to approach on this matter, we appreciate that. Testimony.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Good morning, Mr. Governor, Chairman, and other members of the Wyoming Land Board here with us today. Thank you for having us. My name's Frank Nolan. I'm here representing Paladin Mineral Resources Corporation, a Wyoming corporation. dedicated to responsible mineral exploration and development, primarily focused in the critical minerals area and rare earth elements in Sheridan County, Wyoming. Paladin wanted to have a representative here today before the board in person to express our commitment to our project and to demonstrate our strong interest in securing approval for our coal and rare earth element lease applications. We have a primary focus on prospecting and exploring the lease acreage for rare earth elements, primarily within the coal beds. These critical minerals are essential for national stockpiles and as feedstock for domestically based manufacturing of technologically advanced materials and products. As we all know, this supports U.S. energy, security, defense, and innovative sectors. To advance our efforts for Paladin's project, we have engaged WWC Engineering based in Sheridan, Wyoming, in particular, Jeff Barron, who lives there in Ranchester, as our primary exploration and permitting contractor. WWC will assist and advise Paladin and has advised us over the past few months, and we have held productive meetings with their team on our outline of our exploration strategy, ensuring alignment with local expertise and best practices. Our geophysical surveys and industry standard sampling programs are going to be used to efficiently assess the RE potential within the coal beds and RE leases while minimizing surface disturbance. Paladin Mineral Resources is committed to employing Wyoming-based contractors throughout the project life, adding to local economic growth and additional job opportunities. All of our activities related to our operations will be conducted in full coordination with state and local regulations, including rigorous permitting processes under the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality and other necessary agencies. We prioritize environmentally friendly options, such as low-impact drilling techniques, water conservation measures, and reclamation planning from the onset to ensure we act as good stewards of Wyoming's lands. We also want to be a good neighbor to the residents of Ranchester and the general Sheridan area. Our goal is to balance resource development with habitat preservation, soil health, and sustainable land use. We want to leave a low impact and positive legacy for future generations. We respectfully request the board's approval for the 4 lease applications in front of you today. These are not only for coal, but rare earth element leases, 3 coal and 1 rare earth element lease for prospecting and exploration. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan. Are there questions for Mr. Nolan? Questions? I do have a couple, Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
I'm not exactly sure where you're going to be, but are you going to be in the alluvial deposits at all?
That's not our intent.
Okay. And have you had any comment from any of the communities, Sheridan or Ranchester or Dayton or?
Mr. Chairman, we've not. And again, like I said, our main project manager, Mr. Barron there with WWC Engineering lives in Ranchester. So
Yeah.
we're very cognizant of the local people, and we've actually visited there many times.
Very good. Thanks. What's the pleasure of the board? Thank you. That's been, motion's been made by the secretary. Is there support for the secretary's motion?
Second.
It's been seconded by the auditor. With that, all in favor signify by saying aye. Nays? That motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next on your agenda is Board Matter G8, and this is for the board's consideration of applications for metallic and non-metallic leases. This was also left off the consent list so that Paladin Resources could address the board or anyone else that wishes to. The recommendation from the office is to award these leases for the term of 10 years.
Any questions for the staff? Any further comment? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Is there support for the treasurer's motion? It's been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Nays? That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, next on the agenda is under tab I, miscellaneous matters. And this is a request for the board to consider Hanson Livestock Company's request for oral arguments on exceptions to recommended order regarding cross motions for summary judgment pertaining to state lease number 1-8906. This is a request for the board to consider. There is not a recommendation that accompanies this request.
Okay, thank you. Members of the board, any questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Secretary.
has anyone reached out to, we reached out to Mr. Brown. Has anybody heard from Mr. Brown on this? Does he have an opinion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I can't speak on behalf of Mr. Brown. He did help draft the board matter for consideration by the board. I know he has a scheduling conflict today, so he is not able to attend.
Okay.
Madam Auditor?
Mr. Chairman, I know this is without any other knowledge, I would be very hesitant to not allow oral arguments before this board. So I guess I would make a motion that we do allow oral arguments and recommend that we set those for February 5th, 2026, reserving 15 minutes to each party.
Second.
It's been moved, it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? That motion carries. I will be an abstention.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That completes the agenda for the Board of Land Commissioners meeting.
Does the board want to continue or take a brief break? Take a brief break. So it is 10 of 10. Let's try to get going, let's say 10:05, but that probably means a little later. Let's hope quickly. Thanks.
Hello.
Director, I believe we have everybody here. I think the treasurer is right behind us, perhaps, but please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board is now convening as the State Loan and Investment Board, and this meeting has been properly noticed as a regular meeting. The first thing on your agenda today is under tab A, and that is the approval of the minutes for not only the October 2nd, but also the November 6th to 2025 State Loan and Investment Board meetings.
So members of the board, you've had a chance to review these. We can take them singularly or together if there are not any corrections or comments or additions to the minutes.
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the October 2nd and November 6th of 2025 State Loan and Investment Board meeting minutes.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Is there support for that motion? It's been seconded by the auditor. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? That carries. The minutes are accepted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is tab B, which contains reports that are all informational only. We do have staff available to answer any questions the board might have.
Members, any questions, Mr. Treasurer?
Just real quick, the ARPA grants, those were all supposed to be, I guess, completed by 2026, the end of that. I'm just wondering, what is the outstanding or the grants you think that we're going to be returning money back, or any idea at this time?
Chairman,
Ms. Dora.
Mr. Treasurer, at this point, we anticipate that all of them will get completed. We are processing a lot of final completions every month and closing those out. So we have not been notified of any that won't complete it. So we are still.
Well, if any of that money pops up, we'll let them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Dora. Please, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a question on the letter that I sent on the Teton County low-income project. Just want to get a status on, if there's any attempt by the office to examine the structures of these relationships in the future. I mean, because there's been a lot more that's come out, not only on the property tax exemption, but, on the way these deals are done in terms of the quote unquote public-private partnership and the way they're structured. I think a lot of this is legislative, but I mean, in the future, in terms of state funds, I think we really need to look at some of the way that these contracts are structured. Have you thought about that at all, and what, in the future, thinking about this issue might look like?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary. Appreciate your question. As to that project, since it was a grant for a construction project, our engineer did visit the site to confirm completion of the construction project. So for the purposes of the allocation made by the board, the work that was the subject of that agreement was completed. So we have done that site inspection to ensure that that was completed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'll just phrase it as a comment rather than a question. I think there's a couple different boxes that the Teton County experience has brought out. I mean, one is the exemption itself, but then the other piece is the structure of the contract, the relationship of the private-public partnership. And there have been some concerns raised on that. And I just think in the future, the state, when providing state funds, and also in examining the relationship of the local counties and cities with these projects, needs to be doing more due diligence on that. But it's just my opinion. And during your time as director, I think setting us up for success on future proposals that might come our way, I think would be very helpful, so we're not scrambling at the last minute. So just something to think about. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. Further questions? Fine, we'll proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first thing that I will note is that all of you have an amended agenda in front of you so that you will see that item number E2 has been removed from your agenda. You will see it crossed out on the new piece of paper that was in front of you all today. So that will not be on the agenda for the board's consideration. However, having been provided the materials in advance and fully each individually briefed, you've also been provided a consent list for your consideration for this meeting today.
Thank you. And noting that it's the consent list as proposed is E1, F1 through F3, and K1. E1, F1 through F3, and K1. If anyone would like to make that as a consent motion, I'd certainly.
Mr. Chairman, I would move a consent list consisting of items E1, F1 through F3, and K1.
Thank you. It's been seconded by the superintendent. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Nays? The consent list is accepted, and therefore I would entertain a motion to do the director's recommendation on the items on the consent list.
So moved.
That's been moved by the auditor. Is there support for that motion? Been seconded by the superintendent. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Nays? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next on your agenda is tab C, Policy Matters. There is one item for the board's consideration, and that is to consider the adoption of regular rules for Chapter 14, Fees for Administrative Service and Interest Rates, and Chapter 43, Small Business Emergency Bridge Loans. This is the final phase of these rules promulgation. The office received one comment from Go West Credit Union asking that we take the requirement for the 3 years financial statements be audited to just 3 years of financial statements in order to accommodate for small businesses that may not have third-party audits done on their financial statements. We accepted and incorporated that comment. Otherwise, the rules remain the same as you have seen them throughout the process.
Mr. Treasurer.
Yeah, we didn't, we briefly discussed this, but I'm just curious. The reason was because of small businesses that normally don't audit. So is there a threshold in which there are large business in rules and they are audited?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Treasurer, no, all businesses that participate under these rules would be treated with the same 3-year financial statement requirement. However, the application does have the applicant verify that everything they are submitting is true, but there is not a separate requirement for size of company in the rules.
So we use a broad brush to accomplish a carve out for small companies, but the large companies don't have to have a detailed audit.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
But that's just in the application. In the second phase, they actually do have to have a audit?
No, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Treasurer, when they submit their application, the way that the program works is we have an affiliated financial institution that then will vet the potential borrowers. And so all the work will be done through participating entities. Right now, we have 3 credit unions that are participating in the program. So they would do all the review of the documents brought forward. So there's not multiple phases. The participating financial institution is essentially vetting the quality of the borrower for the state, because after they determine that the loan should be granted, they let our office know, and we have 5 days then to grant or deny that loan request.
Okay. Yeah. I think we need to monitor this really close, Mr. Chairman, in the future, because there was just a credit union got scammed for about $500,000 here in the last week or two. But it was a check kiting thing, more or less. It wasn't a loan.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Madam Auditor.
Mr. Chairman, I think the treasurer brings up a good point, but they do have to be small enough to qualify for the small business loan. So we're not dealing with large ones.
I think that's,
Anyway.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a fair characterization.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Director, I would, I'd point out that this has been an issue that I've been concerned about for some time. Just sort of what the level of audit ought to be on some things. I'm going to recommend not to change the rules here, but I think we should. I appreciate that having a full-on audit can be extremely expensive, particularly if it's GAAP accounting. However, with our small entities and small, I'm also talking about small towns and other districts and so on. At least having a CPA certify them would give some professional level of, because I think a CPA has to have a license, Madam Auditor, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. Without delving into it in too detailed fashion, the CPA can't just necessarily certify anything, but there are several lesser things than an audit. There's a review, and then the lowest level is a compilation. And so maybe that could be
I guess
discussions.
that's what I'm coming to, just so that
Yeah.
the statements actually have somebody who's got a.
I agree with that fully in sentiment where that's still, or the other side of the coin where it continues to be a problem is so few entities are, and all of those three things, audit, review, and compilation, count as attestation services, and so few firms are doing those because of the onus of the rules and whatnot are they're massive. And so I even though I think that's a reasonable standard, then I wonder about, can you get one in fill in the blank? And in a lot of communities in Wyoming, the answer is going to be no. Because there's just such a shortage already. Even large governments are struggling to
Sure.
start audits. So I'm not sure what the middle ground is, but there's a lot of headwinds.
Well, and in this case, the diligence is going to be done by the institution, so.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to put the treasurer on the spot here, but just want to understand, can you lay out maybe what you think an improvement would look like? What, some things, concrete things we could do allay this concern? Because I think there's some valid points you're making.
What the, I guess, the oversight would be?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think at the very least, you should probably run some spot checks, not unlike your office does with elections, to do some spot checks to see whether or not, they're doing it the right way. Because we've got a big problem with political subdivisions and stuff, from the standpoint that when administrations change, there's a lot of things that slide through the cracks, and so I think that maybe that would be something to look at as maybe something that would be a bellwether, whatever, is that if you have a organization that's public and they've had a change in mayors or a change in personnel, then to, maybe do some spot checks on those to find out whether or not there's things falling through the cracks. So just different things that might actually draw your attention to what has been a problem in the past. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I might add, if it helps at all, these are not geared towards any sort of local subdivisions. It's only for small businesses.
Only for small businesses. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Madam Auditor, is the language that's been implemented per that comment into the rules adequate, or is that something we need to change?
I think adequate is sort of a different question when to be honest, when OSLI pointed out this suggested change, I felt silly that I hadn't caught that myself, because that's basically gonna block anybody from actually applying for this. I think given what we know about the potential uptake on the program and potential applicants, I think that's okay. They do have to come up with financial statements. That's one start. And then I think coupling that with the bank's review, the bank is gonna be requiring tax returns and proof of cash and whatnot. And so they're gonna be doing, I think, some due diligence that helps put those pieces together that again, maybe wouldn't be sufficient for a larger company for a normal loan, but for the target of this program, I think it's an okay compromise. Where I think back to CARES Act, where we were supposed to get the money out real fast, but also, check people. But not too closely, because that ends up creating, you don't end up helping people because you're not getting them the money fast.
Further discussion? If there is none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we adopt the proposed rules for Chapter 14, fees for administrative services and interest rates, and Chapter 43, small bridge emergency bridge loans.
It's been moved by the auditor, seconded by the superintendent. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Nays? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next on your agenda is item D1 under farm loan matters. This is for the consideration of one application for a partial release of mortgage for Lamonte Hill. This is for a release of 5 acres from an original loan for 485.3 acres. The borrower has confirmed that they can do the required pay down of $7,646.40 for those 5 acres should the board approve. The director's recommendation is to approve this requested partial release of the mortgage with the pay down.
Thank you. Questions? Anybody want to address the board? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move the director's recommendation.
Second.
Been moved by the auditor, seconded by the treasurer. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That now brings you to tab G, Mineral Royalty Grant Matters. This is the return of your consideration for the application for a Chapter 3 Emergency Mineral Royalty Grant for South Lincoln Hospital District. You will recall the board heard discussion on this matter in the October meeting. There have been some changes in the request by the applicant. The ask today is requesting $3 million in emergency mineral royalty grant funding to address the long-term care facility required updates to allow for integration with their critical access hospital. Since the time of the last board meeting, it is our understanding that the applicant has reached out to the Gates Foundation to request funding of $1 million. The total project cost is now between $4 and $5 million, depending on any variances that may be acquired through the Department of Health. And the entity has committed $300,000 to the project. The recommendation of the director today is to deny funding and defer consideration to the February mineral royalty grant meeting with all other regular applications. I know we do have interested parties today that would like to speak on behalf of this board matter, as well as representatives from the Department of Health for any questions in that area as well.
Thank you. And just for the board's notice, I had a couple of conversations with Rita Meyer, who is TerraPower's representative. I think she has brokered some of the conversations between the Gates Foundation and the South Lincoln Hospital. I have not had an update on that, but I just wanted to make sure people understood that I have been working on that. I want to ask if there's any questions for the staff. If not, or I guess there are.
Yeah,
There we are.
yeah, I'm not sure if it's the staff or for the folks that want the funds, but there's a big change in what it was prior to what it is now. I'm just wondering whether there's been any architectural drawings or any engineering reports that actually can nail this down so we know exactly what it is, and maybe our money would be spent better putting 250,000 in, making sure that we have everything that needs to be there so you can make an informed decision.
So, Mr. Treasurer, I appreciate that. I'm going to say I'm not sure the staff can be responsive to that. So we'll hold that for when we have other testimony. Madam Auditor.
Mine's probably more appropriate for.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for staff? If there isn't, please, if there's somebody here to address the board from South Lincoln, I believe there is. Please come forward and identify yourself, and thanks for coming back again and enjoying the drive across the state and snowy roads.
It's beautiful. Mr. Chairman, board, my name's Dave Ryerson, CEO at South Lincoln Hospital District, and appreciate the opportunity to come and address the board again. Maybe to answer a little bit of the question from Secretary, Treasurer, is really this has been a challenging project to nail down the cost, and ultimately part of that comes down to what we are able to get through with our Department of Health as far as any kind of concessions or waivers on the actual space and what will meet code and what might not meet code ultimately as a critical access hospital space. And so that we have had engineering studies done, and that's where the broad range of $3 to $4 million actually is coming from. That $3 to $4 million is actually an option 2, which we think will meet the bare minimums or the basic needs to convert that space to meet some of those hospital codes. There is a option 1, which would include all things, including remodeling of the bathrooms, and that would be an additional cost upwards of $5 to $6 million. So we're working to try to keep it at the bare minimum of $3 to $4 million, but that's why that's a difficult target to nail down fully, and have been working to have meetings with our Department of Health and our engineering teams to help get that number as close as we can to the realities of what this project will entail.
Thanks. Follow up, Mr. Treasurer? No. Okay, Madam Auditor.
Thanks for being here. So under the current grant request of $3 million, in order to get that done, you are calculating in a $1 million you are banking on getting 1 million from the Gates Foundation. Am I reading this application accurately?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Madam Auditor, that is correct.
And what would you do if that does not happen?
Mr. Chairman, Madam Auditor, that's a great question. We've been exploring other avenues, commercial lending. It's a limited avenue with our cash on hand position. I think I addressed this last time with the board that, our cash on hand is a challenge. It is with most rural hospitals as we're experiencing that. Right now, our October cash on hand was 10 days. And so, we've been able to gather a couple additional funds to help with operational needs. But ultimately, this is one of those projects that is on our highest priority list to get done in order to save that service in our area. But yeah, funding would be limited. Opportunities for other fundraisers is what we've been exploring.
What? No follow-up? Other questions? Other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Mr. Secretary.
Well, appreciate the situation. That is not a great situation, and I know you've been working hard at it. And I know what you're trying to do is, I've been talking with some other hospital administrators. You're trying to do the right thing here. This is path has succeeded for many other facilities around the state. But in terms of moving it into the regular application process, I think the reality is that this is a pretty high request. I mean, this would be a pretty large approval outside of the regular request. It seemed that you had indicated to staff, or at least at some point had indicated to staff, that you think now you can make it to February, and that probably you can get there. So can you comment more on that? Because it seemed in our briefing also maybe there was some hesitation, but then, and I understand it's a fluid situation. So I'm not saying you guys don't have your act together, because you're trying your best, and it's a fluid situation. But where are we at right now, whether you think you're going to get to February?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, great question. Yeah, it is. It's always fluid. Some of these hospitals, or hospitals in general, sometimes live day to day. And so we're trying to get out of that cycle and be really sustainable. And so if you were to ask any of our staff at our hospital, what's the number one goal we're working towards, is being sustainable. This is one of those things that has been identified for our organization, and it would be easy, honestly, to just close the service. That would be the thing that we've been fighting against the last several years. I don't think that's the right decision, is to close it. But to be able to sustain it is concerning. And so this is one of those options that is our best option at this point to keep that service. I would say, as I mentioned, cash on hand was 10 days, I think, in October, 7 days prior month. And so we have received a little bit of our ERC tax credit that we've been waiting on for almost 2 years. That's a tax payment that we've been applied for and qualified for. That's helped us through the last month or so. And so we'll be in a position to continue on with some of those services. But ultimately, the long-term care operational component of this isn't sustainable. And that's where we have the challenge of working to convert that space as quickly as we can. And that's what we're experiencing, is just that race against time in order to be able to keep the service here.
Follow up?
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I mean, what's the path to where we could get sort of a layered approach where, the amount from the board would be maybe $1 million to $1.5 million, and the remainder we'd have some outside sources? I mean, I think that would be a structure that I do think we could get a consensus around. I'm not sure if it'll happen on a special application. It might be in the regular meeting, but what do you think in the next 2 months we can do? I'm glad you guys submitted the foundation request. I mean, I think this is something that needs to happen with the developments in Lincoln County. But I'm just trying to help you in getting to where I think something that might be able to be approved. So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary. I think that's what we've been trying to do, is get this number as low as we can with the construction cost. Again, we're taking what we consider option 2, which is to I hate to use the word bare minimum, but the bare minimum approach to get these rooms upgraded in order to meet that code that's required by CMS. And so ultimately, that's the pathway. Again, we've been seeking other opportunities, other funding sources in an effort to keep the service in place. Obviously, Slib being one of those as well. But we are working as best we can to keep those costs at a minimum, as best as the facility is able to do that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So can you get a little bit into the weeds on option 2 and upsides and downsides from that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary. So option 2 is really, as I mentioned, the word bare essentials. It really takes the current long-term care space rooms. It would convert those space with the required electrical, required medical gas, required hospital wall panel. Those are kind of I think the core of what we are needing to do. That's what we're trying to keep as a minimal cost as we can. There's of course engineering and all that comes along with that cost. There is potential for HVAC. That's one that's kind of been circled a couple times to see if we would have to do any additional HVAC project. We feel that we're in a pretty good spot overall for that. That's really what the crux is with option 2. The option 1 is really, as I mentioned, the full extension. If we had to get into the bathrooms to make those fully ADA compliant, if we had to add a kitchen, or excuse me, well, we could add a kitchen sink, but if we added a sink in the room, That would be another layer of cost. We can get by through some of those things, we think, at this point with our state and what the licensure requirements would make us have to have in place.
And Mr. Chairman, I mean, is the waiver totally off the table? Or can we make another attempt at getting this waiver?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, that's what we've been working towards the past 3 years almost on that, is the potential of a waiver. What we're gathering, and from what our State Department of Health has been able to gather as well, really at the federal level of CMS is saying that there is no true waiver for that. And again, I know other states have done that. I've been a part of a hospital that has done this where we didn't have that. I think that was perhaps in place, but we didn't have any way. We were able to get a waiver essentially to get through the project and spent, $0 on that. I don't think that's been the option that we've had at this point.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, is there a potential waiver to the waiver where you could create an option 3, which is even a more scaled back renovation, which would get even more bare bones and potentially provide another path for you to attempt to get a waiver and have some sort of structure that, is getting closer to $1 million, $1.5 million?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Secretary, it's a great question. It's been something that we've tried to propose or look through as far as options, including, we've already worked towards having the electrical work and engineering portion of that started. We think that's going to be fairly minimal cost, enough to meet what we feel would probably be enough to meet the code. Another example would be potentially, could we bring in room oxygen tanks to these rooms, and would that officially meet code or not? We've been told that probably wouldn't work ultimately, and so, but that would cost, several $1,000s versus, several $1 million. So we've explored all those options. At this point, we haven't been told that there's an option 3. It's really, upgrade the space at this point.
Further follow-up?
I'm okay for now.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Other questions? Well, thank you. Thanks very much for being here.
Absolutely.
Please keep us abreast. We'll see what happens here.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
very good. Members of the board, what is your desire?
Mr. Chairman, I would move the director's rec, and then if I get a second, I'll sort of explain my reasoning.
Okay. Is there a second for?
Second for discussion.
It's been seconded for discussion. Thank you. Madam Auditor, I'll recognize you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I feel in ways I feel better about this request, being that I think we're honing in our costs of what could actually get it over the line. Because spending 80% and then not getting the designation would be the worst option for all parties involved. I'm feeling, I'm struggling more with the amount, not because I question that's what they need, but it's close to, it's pushing on 1/3 of the money that we have left. And while I know that money is never distributed equally and won't be in that final meeting, we do have to try to spread that peanut butter over a lot of different communities and a lot of variant needs. And so I'm not ready to lop 3 million off the top of that just yet. And so I'm not real happy with my motion either, but I think it's the least bad choice right now. And I'd like to see this again in February. Hopefully we would have, I mean, my other concern is if we gave 3 million and don't get any from the Gates Foundation, I'm not still sure that we're in any better situation. So I think that maybe having some knowledge on that would further inform a decision.
Mr. Treasurer.
Could staff refresh me about the standard, I guess, match requirement in our normal, is it third, 2/3, 75/25?
Chairman, the match requirement is really just a base requirement on the applicant submitting the application, whether they meet the 75% threshold or if they meet a 50% threshold. But then we often have applicants that come in with only requesting like 32% or anything lower than that. Our understanding is that based on the application as submitted, that could go to the board at a 70% request.
So 70-30, but they actually, they have to have a source of the other funds before we normally approve those things, whether it's, you know, from their own revenue or from Gates or somebody else.
Mr. Chairman, it's part of the evaluation criteria in Section 7. So the rules say whether the applicant has approved matching funds for the project from other state grants. So it's just part of your list of criteria that you consider in those awards.
But we don't do 100%, or to the auditor's point, give them 75% of what they need and knowing that they can't find any other. That kind of reminds me of what we, you know, when Niobrara County wanted a $64,000 ambulance and they couldn't afford the match. And it was just like, well, you don't qualify.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Treasurer, I think the board historically has treated these emergency applications differently and awarding that 100%, but in your regular MRG cycles, you would only do up to the 75 or 50% fund based on eligibility.
Thank you. Further, Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I had to clarify for myself. And so the motion is, director's recommendation is to deny the request.
Mr. Chairman, yes, but not so much deny as to forward it to
Correct.
the group of the regular MRG meeting.
Thanks. Further discussion?
Yeah, I got a couple points. Yep.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr.
Secretary.
Chairman. You know, this is really important, but we just got to be creative here. You know, we got to try to get some more matching funds. I'm glad that there was finally some movement on the foundation front. Mentioned that last time, that I just think on every single one of these projects in Lincoln County, they need to be submitting applications. But in terms of a county share, a city share, especially county, I mean, I think that we need to be exploring that. The office needs to be exploring that with them to get us to a point where we can get this done. On top of that, I mean, where are we on the big beautiful bill funding on the hospitals? I mean, how do we bring that into this? Was this in Mr. Johansson's or your administration's request? How do we get there and getting some of those funds into this? I mean, it's a huge, huge amount.
Mr. Secretary, there was a proposal put in. It has not been accepted. It did not specifically target any particular hospital.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, what's the timeline on that? Because how do we get that from T to green and applying some of those funds to this?
In my conversations with the Secretary of Commerce, he indicated that there would be guidance in mid-December and then further guidance shortly after the first of the year. So
Okay.
there's a certain amount of time, and we don't know if it will be accepted or not, partially accepted. There are a couple of things that we're trying to do that they were very intrigued by, but they weren't necessarily saying, yes, that's the right thing to do. They need to consider them. So that's the timeline that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And I think in the future, if you want to have Mr. Johansson here, we can probably do that.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I just got a follow-up.
Sure.
So I'm just confused on the approach. Was it like a holistic one pager and we get the funds and then you decide, or there's a committee you're going to set up or something? I mean, or was it, hey, here's some of the things we want to do on it, and
it was
this didn't make the cut,
yeah.
or what did it look like?
Mr. Secretary, there was a series of town halls handled around the state. There was an open opportunity to comment on it. There has been some criticism that maybe it didn't get all the comment it should. I think that's sort of standard. From that, there were a number of proposals made. that were fleshed out, and that application, I think, is available. It's not a one-pager by any means. It's a several-page document that was different programs, and I think that is available for your review.
Okay,
So-
well, thanks. Mr. Chair, I'll take a look at that. I mean, in light of this last meeting, I really thought, well, I won't speak for the board, but I thought I was really clear that I was hoping this would make the cut into that proposal. And so it sounds like maybe it didn't, or it's enmeshed in some more vague, hey, give us this amount of funds and we'll decide what to do with it or something like that. But I just really think it should be part of that. And I don't know if there's a way to amend it, but we just got to get creative here. There's a lot of funding on the table. And if we get sort of a team sort of approach to get this to the finish line, I really think we can get this to the finish line and also, get maybe the cost share from the board's end commensurate more with other projects.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Another pot of money and that they might look at is the Community Development Block Grant. And I know we have someone in the audience that's on that board that approves those. And so I don't know, Mark, you might talk to these guys, and I can't recall where we're at on that, but there's a lot of times you can get grants somewhere between 750 to, I think the largest one is a little over $1 million. So, and I think this project would actually, be something that people would look at. So there's all kinds of places to get different pots out there, guys. So, hate to volunteer you on that, Mark, but you're so good at these grants. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks very much. If there's other general comments, I'm certainly willing to entertain them, but I'd like to try to keep this discussion to the motion. Is there further discussion on the motion? If there is not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Nays? That motion carries. Thanks. Please be back. Yeah, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we direct the Office of State Lands to explore with the Governor's Office and the Department of Health how the One Big Beautiful Bill Hospital Fund, or whatever the official title is, how it can be used for this project. Because I had a similar motion last time, and I know didn't get a second or whatever because of the groupthink, but they said, well, this will happen anyway. And I'm not sure it's happened. So I just think we need to make sure we're reaching our full potential and trying to get these federal funds into this project. Because President Trump has done great work in trying to, improve rural health care and reverse, all the damage Biden did there. So I just think that it's not meant to be confrontational in any way, but last time we had a motion and didn't get a second, said it was going to happen. I'm not sure we're reaching our full potential on this. So it's good to get another set of eyes on this, and that's the motion. So
Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Mr. Secretary, I'm sorry to say that motion failed for lack of a second. So, all right, Madam Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next on your agenda is tab J, Board of Deposits.
Back in J. Okay, we have our quarterly thing that we do for the time deposit open account program, which is to set the recommended interest rate that our financial institutions can borrow money through this program. And as you all know, we've been through this rodeo a few times here, that it's figured on the average monthly yield of a 1-year Treasury bill. So the recommendation, Mr. Chairman, and as a motion, would be that the treasurer recommends that the board accept his recommendations for the TDOA rate to be established by using the 1-year Treasury bill average for the full calendar quarter preceding this meeting, July 1, 2025 through September 30, 2025. The rate of 3.88% will be for the third quarter of the TDOA contract year 2025 through 2026 to be effective January 1, 2026 through March 31, 2026.
Thank you very, it's been moved, it's been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, the next one is J2. This is informational only. That is the collateral report. It shows that we have excess collateral for collateral of $325,000 or $325,744,842 with the bank loans against that of $155,162,796. So they're good collateralized there. Several banks aren't taking I guess participating in this, but the majority of them still are. And so that's the report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Any questions for the treasurer? If there are none, let's proceed. Thanks.
Next one, Mr. Chairman, is board matter J3. This is a board matter which is to approve or disapprove of a credit union. We've got several credit unions that have already joined this from legislation that was enacted last year. Western Vista Federal Credit Union is applying for this, Mr. Chairman, and our recommendation is that the state treasurer recommends that the board approve the one listed credit union to receive public funds on deposit effective December 4th, 2025.
All right, thank you.
So that's the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? It's been seconded by the auditor. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, the next one is J4. What this does is update the designated banks and credit unions as state depositories eligible to receive public funds. With our previous action, we have to add Western Federal Credit Union to that list. And so this motion would add them to the list. The state treasurer recommends the board accept the state treasurer's recommendation of the list of eligible depositories to receive public funds on deposit.
Is there a second? It's been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Nays? That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, just a comment, K1 was on the consent list. That was just a list, Mr. Chairman, to make sure that everybody's financial disclosure got put in and just so the public knows that everybody's gotten their financial disclosures in.
Gold star. There we go.
So, Mr. Chairman, the next one is board matter K2. This is the a consultant report for information on the review of investment performance. We have a member from RVK on Zoom. And we got our acting chief investment officer, Norm LeBlanc, here also. So, Norm, would you introduce our gentleman from RVK?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Treasurer, I'd be happy to do so. My name is Norman LeBlanc. I am the interim CIO for the State Treasurer's Office. My apologies for not being able to attend the meeting in person today. This is due to personal obligations, longstanding personal obligations in the UK. With your permission, I would like to introduce Joe Ledgerwood from RVK, who will provide the performance presentation today.
Thanks, Joe. We're happy to hear what you have to say.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Norm noted, I'm Joe Ledgerwood. I'm with RVK, the investment consultant. I'll just give you a brief update on your performance fiscal year to through 9/30, the first quarter of your fiscal year to date. Performance on a relative and absolute basis was strong across all trailing time periods. A good start to the fiscal year. As in recent periods, returns are largely being driven by the public markets, both public equity and fixed income. And there are some a little bit of risk coming into those markets right now. Some valuation risks, some concentration risks that I'll touch on later in the report. If we move to page 2, you'll see the quilt chart here. This is the third consecutive year. So if you look down those columns of relatively strong returns across all asset classes, year to date through 9/30/2025, public markets continue to outpace their private market peers. A notable thing to see is that top light blue box there, with international equity leading all asset classes for the year. I'll note that the dollar weakness has been a pretty meaningful tailwind to non-US equity returns. Moving on to page 3, you can see the total allocation, but the different values by fund, the permanent mineral trust, the common school fund, workers' comp fund, and the state agency pools representing the largest chunks of assets for the Treasurer's Office. So we move to page 4. You can see that the total fund absolute returns continue to be strong, outpacing the total fund index across all trailing time periods, with the exception of a little bit of a lag for this last quarter. If you look below that set of performance, you can see the different fiscal year-to-date asset class returns. They continue to be relatively in line. This is a pretty short time period, so we wouldn't expect a lot of deviations from their indexes. One that I will point out is the U.S. small cap equity. You can see that WSTO, U.S. small cap equity, with an 8.39% return relative to the Russell 2000 index of 12.39% return. That is driven largely by that market was really characterized by low ROE, high beta stocks leading the returns in that sector. Those types of stocks are unlikely to be held by active managers. And just for some context, for the quarter, 84% of US small cap active managers underperformed their benchmark for that time period. So although it's not great to be in that cohort of underperformers, it wasn't as if your performance was an outlier amongst peers. As we move to 7 and 8, we can see the different fund performance.
Can I stop you for just a sec?
Absolutely.
I'm interested in the opportunistic investment too. Can you speak to that?
I would have to dig into that a little bit more. Norm, do you have some color on that?
I have some color, and that is that this is driven by one position in a single company, a single name, cold storage play called Lineage, where we have a private equity position. In fact, we invested twice since it is gone public in a small way. And the performance of the stock has been disappointing, to say the least, and that has driven that performance down. And of course, it is the performance benchmark is the overall portfolio generally, and of course that's been pretty reasonable. So that is the main driver of that underperformance. I can come back with more detail as required.
No, that's fine. I wanted to know if it was I know this is a fairly new enterprise, so I appreciate very much that. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, just another thing that I saw go across Bloomberg the other morning about 4 o'clock in the morning was another storage company that was publicly traded, and they had lost 25%. So it's essentially, it isn't a storage thing, it's more like a sector thing, and why the cold storage is falling off. I don't have an answer for that, but we'll probably dig into it. So that's one of those things that you get sectors once in a while, or different areas where there's been a hit. And I noticed a little bit too in our hedge funds that went down. We had a hedge fund that had a large position in CoreWeave, and they're still up for the year, but this last quarter, CoreWeave got kind of kicked in the teeth. So yeah, so they're still up for the year, but this last quarter, so you have these ups and downs on different things for different reasons. So, but we keep our eye on them.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Please proceed, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we move on to page 7 with the breakdown of the individual funds, it shouldn't be a surprise given that the total fund performance is strong, that the individual funds also are exhibiting strong performance. You can see the PMT with strong trailing returns and near-term returns outpacing its index. I will note that it's underperforming the 70/30 MSCI ACWI US Bloomberg Aggregate Index. Obviously, with the strength of the public market returns there, we would expect to see underperformance given that you have a more diversified portfolio. We'd also note that some of the risks that are embedded in that portfolio would not make for a recommendation right now going forward. Just fixed income spreads are historically narrow. Equity valuations are near the top of their 10-year ranges right now. We're seeing some equity index concentration in large cap US, specifically in the tech market. So we think that your portfolio is appropriately diversified to help tackle some of those potential risks that are embedded in the public markets. And so, we're comfortable with that underperformance relative to the 70/30, just given that it's not structured to really be more of an all-weather portfolio like yours. As we go down the list, similar story for each of the school funds, the workers' comp funds, LISRA, and the state agency pools. I'll pause there if there are any more performance questions before we get to the next risk pages.
Questions? Okay. Please proceed.
Perfect. As you can see on page 9, this is the rolling 3-year standard deviation or absolute volatility of the 70/30 portfolio in the dark purple line. You have the different trusts and funds below that. Those funds remain comfortably below that benchmark, which we like to see. If you move to page 9, this is a similar representation, but instead of showing the absolute volatility, it's a percentage of that 70/30 total volatility. Again, all of the funds are comfortably below that 70/30 portfolio, which I think is appropriate and also probably good given the diversification of your portfolios and some of the risks I noted embedded in public markets right now. Those were all the formal remarks I was going to make about performance for 9/30. I will note that we have just started to look at the October 30 report. Very similar story, not a lot different among the numbers. So it's good to see that continuing.
Thank you, Joe. One quick question, and Mr. Treasurer, it struck me when I was in that office that we always got our private equity stuff a little bit later in September and October. Do these numbers include the private equity returns?
Yeah, there's essentially about a 3-month lag on
Yeah.
all your private. So essentially the market that we'll see, in this quarter will be probably exhibited the same market that we're seeing in the publics from last quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, I just was asking if they were inclusive of this report, or will there be a separate report, or will it be included in the future?
I believe this report is final.
Okay.
But I can confirm that for you.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Merry
you, Mr.
Christmas
Chair.
to you. Merry Christmas. Mr. Treasurer, anything?
No, I guess kind of an update about some of the things that we are doing and moving forward on is that we're gonna really do a top-down look at our portfolio and especially in the areas of data centers, because a lot of the different companies that we're dealing with have got some bets on that. So we're gonna dig into the details to find out where our exposure is, with what company and just exactly what, so as we move forward, we want to make sure that we don't get overextended in one area or the other. We actually do have, through one of our hedge funds, or private areas, and exposure to the related data center out here. So we're gonna drill into that and see how many millions that we've got in that now, and look at really try to get some in-house expertise and some other expertise out there to have a better understanding the due diligence that we need to do to look at this. We're hoping that Wyoming is a bigger part of this. I think there's been some discussion about necessarily a misleading discussion about the data centers not paying taxes, especially in here in Laramie County. I know they're the largest property taxpayer here. And then some other discussion about, areas where data centers are all going to cause electrical rates to go up. And the thing about that is that there's a lot of these, like the one that's going to be going down south on the Tallgrass project, that is going to have their generation before the meter, so it doesn't affect it at all. So, there's a lot of opportunity, but there's, I think, a lot of traps if you don't keep your eyes open.
Thanks very much, Mr. Treasurer. Any further comments? Public comments? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved. Is it seconded?
Second.
It's been seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.